Dude, I honestly, the thing that's going on, he's like really, really gone viral recently.
Yes.
Like he's like,
insane.
I searched up yesterday. He was actually number 2 on Google search because I search Google Trends every single day.
Did Trump get in there?
It was Biden's son.
What the
Hunter
fuck?
Hunter Biden was on.
Why?
He was number 1. It was Hunter Biden.
Probably his
number 1
biggest
search.
Scandal.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
It was Hunter Biden. Then it was Andrew Tate, and then I don't remember below. But
They don't matter.
yeah.
That's insane though, man. I think they did him wrong. Like, I don't know what's all going on, obviously, but he keeps putting out media saying that the Matrix is after him, which I believe, by the way. There's got to be something, because when you had that much influence over younger people, so the younger people are the ones that can actually rebel, right?
Yeah.
Like, you guys have the power to rebel. People our age, or well, technically my age, or a little bit older, they're already so conformed with the way the world is, like they're not really gonna just make a change, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if anybody can make the change, it would be like people like your age, 25 and below, pretty much. And so I feel like he's got a lot of followers in that range.
Yeah.
And so when you give that out to the world, it's like a huge red flag for 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds that control the world essentially, and this guy's like overtaking it. You know what I mean? So that's what they're scared of. I feel like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary for us because now that shows like it doesn't matter who you are. Like, we're going to pretty much treat you like crap. We're going to put you in jail and you're not going to do anything about it. Now, another thing that I didn't really think about is, like, we don't necessarily know who's in charge.
Yeah.
So we don't know who, they say, like, don't poke the bear.
Yeah.
So we don't know who he's poking. You know what I mean? Only he knows that, and that's why he tries to, like, be, like, blatant about it in social media, like, telling us, like, kind of like secrets here and there, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's crazy.
I like
that
his.
guy.
I really liked his way of him getting like viewership. Do you know
Genius.
anything about the way he did
Genius.
it?
Oh god, yeah. The university, like,
Yeah.
literally just reclipping everything and sending it off, paying people like, hey, you did this much, here you go. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you pay $45 a month and you're gonna get way much more than that. I mean, he did good.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Yeah,
I tell you, like,
I mean, shoot, like the way he put it in and everything, like his name is literally SEO gold now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That guy is literally insane. I never seen anybody like literally just skyrocket up as quick as he has, honestly. I mean, he even mentioned like in some of his interviews that like there were companies that wanted him to shut up and they would pay him like $60 million or so, and he just chose not to do it. So like, that shows you that he's well over, like, whatever his net worth is, that's really not his net worth. Like, he should be well over that. If he would just shut up, like, there'd be so many companies lining up to just make him a billionaire. Like, he would legit be a billionaire. So it's crazy. I don't know.
What do you think though? Like, do you think there is another side where, maybe, because I know the message that he actually puts out is pretty good. But do you think there is a possibility that maybe some of it's not like real or some of it is real? Like some of the stuff, maybe he's saying, like, I know he has a bunch of things where like he'll say, really exaggerated things. Do you think the 60 million is exaggerated or do you think it's like for real?
Somebody of his caliber, so there's this thing like on Hollywood, right, where they say like people usually rent out their stuff. Okay, and then so, if you're a millionaire and you're renting out stuff, like you're probably only spending a couple $30,000, $50,000 a month on that crap, right? Mm-hmm. 40 cars is a little hard for you to just be like, oh yeah, just rent it all. You know what I mean? Like he's gotta have some kind of ownership. I think he's well over 200 mil. Like, it's just so I don't necessarily think that he's exaggerating. I have kind of paid attention to him, like the way he portrays himself, and I compare him to other people. I think he's I mean, the way that he speaks can influence you in a certain direction, and people like that are far worth way more than others. You know what I mean? So does he exaggerate? Obviously, he has to. I mean, it's social media. You know what I mean? Like, in order for me to like get to you in social media, like I have to try to show you a person that I'm not.
Got to be a wow.
Exactly, and that's what he is essentially. So, you know, yeah, he exaggerates. Yeah, I mean, he's like one of the best actors in that sense. Yeah. But it doesn't matter because he backs it up. You know what I mean? Like he tells you, hey, look, I'm what the fuck? He doesn't do karate. What does he do? Kickboxing. So like I'm a kickboxing champion or whatever, right? I mean, that's something he can back up. You know what I mean? Like I have a six pack. Okay, that's something he can back up. Like, you know, he's telling you, hey, get off the couch. Well, he's not on the couch. You know what I mean? Like yeah. That's what I'm saying. So like some of the stuff that he's saying is true, and I feel like anybody that's actually like trying to help themselves, like in this life, can benefit from that. Yeah, of course, there's gonna be like outlandish things that you say because you're on podcast and you're like literally on podcast 24/7. So not every view is gonna be taken the right way. And so what this social media is doing is like they're just taking little clips of him saying like maybe an incorrect sentence or whatever, right? Because he's just rambling on, and then putting it against him. I don't know necessarily who's doing it, but you know, they're doing it for clout, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the clips. That's a very lucrative business, actually. Yeah. If you're able to clip all those things because you work off of his influence.
Exactly.
That goes into kind of like a question that I had for you. What do you think about that sort of influencer marketing when it pertains to like business?
On the positive side, I think it's huge. So, you know, if you can make a clip, like obviously all these guys like Bradley, Ryan Pineda. Like they're just literally just doing podcasts and like they're taking those clips and putting them on TikTok or wherever, right? Facebook, Instagram, and they're just blowing up. That's got to bring them business. Like it has to. You know what I mean? Like let's say, for example, the barbershop, right? So I put that in there and I just made a quick clip of like, you know, this is my barbershop. And I made sure to make sure that my barbershop was like really, really nice. So that way when people would see it, it'd be like, oh, wow, that's actually a really nice place to go to. Yeah. Compared to others. So I did that and like 2,000 views, like, you know what I mean? Like with an account that like legit doesn't even had like 10 followers, you know what I mean? So something like that, imagine 2,000 people see that, you're going to get at least 4 or 5 customers maybe that live in that same area that are going to be like, oh, I want to go there, you know, just because they saw it. So essentially like it's huge for business. I mean, any time that you can do social media like that, like that's big. That'll bring you on clients for sure. So.
Yeah. So what are some of the other ways that you utilize actual social media? Because I know there's a lot of, what are the ways that you utilize social media?
I'm not the best, I will say that. But, I mean, I'm trying to do more, you know, do my part. I heard in the blogs they told you, you know, do a value post and then can I cuss?
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I think you already did like just a little bit, but you're all good. You're all good.
So like, you know, there's like shit posting and then there's like value posting, right?
Yeah.
So shit posting doesn't necessarily have to be like your life is not a shit, by the way. Shit posting is like, let's say there's a funny joke or whatever, and I just want to put it in there. Then you would do that. So like on Facebook, right? So for every shit post, there's gonna be 3 value posts following it. So value post, that's in like, I guess for insurance, for me, it'd be like, hey, look, an IUL is far better than a 401k because nobody gives a shit about 401ks anymore. Right?
I got one question then. Do you think that's like good? How do you make that content more like grabbing? Like, cause when somebody sees it, they're like IRL, like what? Like, how do you IUL?
Right.
Okay.
So,
how do they get them? How do you get that like to grab somebody? And like
so I think if you point out the values in an IUL versus like a 401k, so a 401k literally like they invest the money for you, you don't invest it yourself, right? Which sounds amazing. However, there's these penalties that come with it, like that they don't really tell you about. Like for example, if you're not you have to keep the money in there until you're 62 and a half, then you can pull it out, right? And then when you do pull it out, you're gonna hit with a income tax, basically. So let's say you had $500,000 and they put, let's say, 18% income tax in there. I mean, that's huge. That's a lot of your life savings like just gone. You know what I mean? So you put in all that time and effort putting it into that. So what the IUL does is first it accrues interest over the years, right? So whatever you would have on 401k, you're gonna have double that, and it's income tax. Tax deferred. So meaning that whenever you do pull it out, no taxes are gonna come out of it. So I mean that's a huge, just in that, like explaining that to people, and then the fact that, hey, look, let's say you invested 15 years in, and for some reason you had cancer or whatever, right? And you needed to pay bills, you could grab from that money, that investment that you made, and then use that to help you out. So as this is accruing interest, you're making a lot more money than you normally would elsewhere. There you go. Now you have a way out, something that can benefit you. So
even like with the tax deferred, it's like a Roth IRA, right?
Yeah, so Roth IRA, the only reason I'm not a big fan of Roth IRA is just because you can only put $6,500 per year. Now, if they raise that, I mean, that would be an IUL, essentially. And Roth IRA, like, it doesn't have a death benefit. So if you don't die, like if you die, like whatever you had in the amount, that's where you're going to get. But at IUL, you have a death benefit. So in the case that you're investing, right, whatever your cash value is that you grew that year, plus your death benefit, that's where you're going to get paid out on. So, yeah.
So even with like kind of the way you're presenting value on social media by saying one of those segments, what's the value that you bring to somebody in a sale? Like, what is the number one ways, when somebody even looking at this right now, what's the one thing in sales, because I know insurance is sales, so like what was the number one thing that kind of helped you in your career with sales?
Okay, so with sales, it's really funny because everybody wants to make like insurance, like, when you look at all these commercials, it's all like, oh, you're gonna save $600 and blah blah blah, and it's true. And so it's become so price driven, basically. So essentially we do want to like give them the best possible price, but sometimes people don't know anything about insurance, like literally anything, right? Like, so cars nowadays, they don't, like 10 years ago a $20,000 car could be a decent car. $20,000 car nowadays is just not the case, and so now the limits have been raised to, let's say, 40,000 will give you a decent car. Okay, well, in insurance in the state of Texas is 30, 60, 25. $25,000 being the property, meaning if your car is total, right, they'll pay you up to $25,000. Well, if you pay me $25,000, like my car's worth $40,000, where's the other $15,000 going to come from?
What?
You know what I mean? And the majority of people like that have insurance, that's what they have. So they're not realizing that if something happens to their car, imagine like a Mercedes or like a top of line BMW, right? You would have to pay that money to, or call it a total loss. They would pay you the $25,000. You had to come up with the rest, essentially. So what I try to do is I try to like look at your value, your life, what you have, and then I want to cater to that. And that way, whenever something happens to you, if you have a total loss, you don't have to come out of pocket. Now, imagine this, and I'm going to put it very simple. Let's say your car's $30,000, right? Or $60,000, $50,000. Let's say $50,000, and you had a total loss, and you had $25,000 in there, right? So they're going to give you the check. You owe the loan, right? $25,000, and then you got to go and buy another car. So now, let's say you got another $50,000 car. Now you're in debt $75,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that mistake right there is like the number one mistake that most people do. Like, it's insane. So every time that I'm on the phone, that's the first thing they're like, oh, I want the cheapest thing possible. I can give you the cheapest thing possible, but let me tell you first why you should not. Unless they have like, a 2005 Honda, like it's whatever, right? Like then at that point, okay, it makes sense. Yeah. That's what we should do. But that's huge right there. Like just that one, that's huge value that you can sell. And you're not necessarily selling, it's more like you're so I don't like to call myself like a salesman. Like I'm more like not a financial analyst, but
insurance doctor?
Yeah. We can go with that without the PhD. So yeah. But no, something like that, like that's huge, man. You got to find value in people and like their life and like how this can benefit their life versus not. You know, imagine if I just did 30, 60, 25 for everybody. I would be making a lot more money. But it's not ethical, you know what I mean? Just because, imagine, could you sleep at night knowing that somebody else's card note just went up another $500 a month? I mean, that's a lot to take on, you know. And in this field, like if you care about people, I feel like you'll succeed naturally. And the longer you stay in, like the more lives that you're actually gonna affect. So that's how I go about it. Yeah.
Where did that kind of mindset come from? Like basically putting other people first, and how did you get into this entrepreneurial venture?
So my mom, she used to sell houses. She used to flip them actually. So she would buy them out and then sell them, and then she make like a little bit of profit. I knew that it wasn't much, but you know, we would always be running errands and whatnot. So I kind of figured out pretty quickly that people that were coming from Venezuela, because that's where I came from, people that were coming from Venezuela would just leech on into a job, and then they were basically slaves for the rest of their life. Like that's whatever they were making, like that was where they were, and they were stuck. You know what I mean? So then I realized, like, okay, in order to come out ahead in here, right, in the U.S., like you either had to be a business owner, or you gotta like be a heir to a lot of money, which is not the case. I mean, there's not many people that just have a trust fund or whatever, right? So yeah, essentially you had to do it on your own. And so when I realized, I actually got very blessed because with Farmers Insurance, they put me under this program where I did like a whole year. And I graduated from the program, and then I was able to start my own. So that is something that's out there that not many people know about it. But if you do go under the program and you excel, you can own your own as well. So yeah, that's how I went about mine, I guess.
Well, with your mom flipping houses and getting into houses, so you always saw her as like a kid, and you were like, or did you come here as a kid, or how old were you when you come over?
So I moved to the U.S. when I was 9, actually. Not knowing like not even a lick of English. It was funny transition.
Really, your English is really
good. So I mean, it's hilarious because my first word was bitch, and I was like, and people would like when I would say it, I thought I was saying beach.
Oh.
And like I guess the accent was getting in the way, and so all these people were just like looking at me and like they were just laughing. So I thought I was making a joke. So then I just kept saying it until yeah. And when I was in school, I got detention for that. I was like, what? Like I don't understand why people don't like me or what's going on, why they're laughing. But yeah, essentially I figured it out, you know, my mom told me, and I was like, oh, well, I'm sorry about that. Won't be saying that again. And I already forgot the question already.
Oh no, I was just saying like when like seeing your mom like flipping houses when you're a little bit younger, how did that kind of influence you? Because at least in my journey and a lot of people that have came on here, a lot of their childhood is transferred over into business. Like they say, whenever you're like lost or you're looking for something, always look back to your childhood. Right. So what do you think were the core things that kind of put you in this direction?
I like that actually. Yeah, my childhood wasn't like your normal childhood. I think most people here, you know, definitely have it good. No, yeah, you're fine. Here, I'll hold it. There you go. You know, you got to remember, like, I came from like a third world country, essentially, right? So we don't have the supplies. We don't have like the standard, the normal living that you guys have here, per se.
I don't know how to turn this.
Oh, you want me to do it? Here, I can do it.
It's an iPad, and I don't know.
Yeah. So you gotta like, here, hold this.
Because I know on the iPhone there's like a little piece on there that I can just flip over.
So you hold both at the same time.
I was just gonna silence it, but.
Oh, you want to? Okay, so you would just want to turn it down?
It's off now. It's all good.
Is it off? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, cool.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a son, so that's why like I figured that out. I was like, oh yeah,
I didn't even know how to like, because I was just trying to silence it, because you know on the phone you can just like flip it, but
it's closed off, so you weren't gonna be able to do it. But anyways, what I would say is like, because I had such a rough like not rough childhood. Like my childhood was actually amazing. But you know, I didn't have a father figure. Um, it was just my mom in the picture, and she was always busy. So like I was put in with a nanny pretty much, and so like that nanny would take care of like 20 kids and whatnot. And I mean, we lived in like just like the ghetto of Venezuela. Believe it or not, that was my best time out of my whole life. My best time was over there. Just knowing that like you could wake up and go play sports for like 10, 15, 10, 12 hours without having a single worry, you know what I mean? And then just coming right back home just so you could eat and then take a nap, wake up the next morning, do it again. It was like the best childhood ever. But yeah, man, looking back, I'm like, I mean, we would play with like these really shitty soccer balls. We were barefooted, you know what I mean? Like, and then the concrete wasn't like concrete over here. Like, no, it's not the same. It's like literally the pavement's all roughed up, fucked up. Nobody pays taxes, so it's really, and if they do, it just goes straight to the government so the president can get richer. Um, so going from that to now, it I knew that I think when I was 18, and I went into the army. I I got back from the army. I just realized like, wow, my life has changed so much. You know what I mean? And when I got out of the army, I didn't want to be just a regular person here. Like I wanted to be somebody, and I knew that already. That's why I pushed myself when I was in the army. Um, but I think being surrounded by my friends' families, because they had some really like successful people in business. It kind of just opened my eyes, you know what I mean, and it made me believe that there was something outside of just the regular 9 to 5. And you know, here we are today. I own three, two of them. I'd say, I mean, the barbershop is doing pretty good.
Yeah.
First week, they already made $2,500 in sales, so I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take that. But and then the insurance agency, like I received it at like 95,000, and like it's over a mil now. So like that's just escalated. Like and you know, I'm the one that's literally just maintaining it for farmers. You know, like I just move around their money, and they're very happy to have me, and of course I'm happy to be with them. Um, but essentially, like I want bigger things, and like I know like one thing I realized is like I set a goal and then I get there and then I just keep climbing. Like I don't, there's no stopping me, honestly. Um, but in this field, or in, like as an entrepreneur, there every single day you're battling um, the lazy side. So you can't fall victim to it. So what I always suggest is like never, never, ever let yourself fall into it, because you're gonna be surrounded by other entrepreneurs as well that they don't like to put in the work, you know. And if you go along with them, and you know those are your so-called friends, you're gonna end up failing eventually. Yeah.
So you're saying like, I've noticed in the entrepreneurship space, in the sales space, there are a lot of people that go ahead and, I don't know how to put it into words, entrepreneurs. Yes. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs, yes, and there's a lot of like you need to make the switch over to being entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur for a long time. I was like, I want to be this, and I was like, fuck that. I don't want to be a entrepreneur anymore. Did you ever have that point where you were an entrepreneur and then you were like, fuck that, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody does at some point. It's because really, I mean, if we're speaking candidly, it's because we see other successful people, and we just automatically envy them. Yeah. We see that they have nice cars. You're like, oh, it must be nice, or like, you know what I mean? But we don't know exactly what's going on in the background, like, because we're not in that industry. And even if we were in that industry, like when you're just a producer and you see like an agent, and the agent's rolling out in like I don't know, like his freaking Corvette, you know what I mean? And you're stuck with your 2003 Prius or some shit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you're gonna naturally envy that. And so, in my opinion, that's when you start becoming like wanting to be an entrepreneur, because you see the lifestyle and you're like, oh yeah, I want to do that. But then people don't realize that comes with a lot of baggage. Like, that comes with a lot of like, you know, weekends like just gone. Like you can't work weekends, or like vacations. Vacation is the biggest thing for me. Like I can't even take on a vacation for a whole week without my businesses struggling, like something happening to my businesses, right? So essentially what you do want to do is you want to make sure that your employee base is hardcore, like that they're hard hitters, that they can, pretty much you can just rely on them and you can go and vacation. Now that would be a dream. Unfortunately, life is not made out that way. But in a perfect scenario, that's exactly how you would want it. And so I think that's where when you can accomplish that, I think that's when you become an entrepreneur. And until you accomplish that, you're not an entrepreneur. Yeah.
So that really reminds me of a quote that I don't know where it is, but it's basically, man, I'm reminded of it right now. It's literally so when you're backed into a corner, when you have that spot where it's like, there it is. It's either the biggest changes come from inspiration or like desperation.
Right.
So would you agree with that? Like you're either
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. You had to. So it's so funny, right? Because when you're desperate, that's when you're gonna kick like none other.
Yeah.
Like imagine if me and you were fighting, right? And you were on top of me and you were like wrestling me down, and let's say we were doing jiu-jitsu and you like had me on a triangle hold or whatever, and I'm running out of breath. I had to desperately try to get out of that position, right? Because I mean, I'm gonna tap out or I'm gonna lose the fight. That's exactly how entrepreneur is. Whenever you're desperate, like let's say you're depending on one sale to be able to pay your bills, like you're gonna call as many people as possible to try to make sure that happens. You're trying to reach your goal, whatever it may be. Like there's a lot that goes into it. But the inspiration side is like you can be inspired, but essentially if you're not desperate enough, you're gonna fall victim. Victim of the, you know what, so and so he sold this much and he's happy. So you know what, I think if I sell that much, I think I'll be happy. You know what I mean? So that's where that falls in there. Whereas if you're desperate, you're just gonna keep going no matter what. Like if I tell you, for example, hey, this standard is 100 calls, right? And you know that if you make 100 calls, like you'll get paid and you'll be happy, right? But what if I told you you had to make 100 calls or you're going to lose out your bonus? Now all of a sudden desperation kicks in. You're going to make your 100 calls and more, so that way we never fall into this same scenario ever again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you have to have something chasing you as well as something inspiring you. I'm still in that spot where I'm still getting chased and I still have that desperation of getting further and further. But once you reach that spot, I don't know if you've reached kind of like a spot that's close to it, of, hey, I'm comfortable, but I still want, like, I'm still inspired to go forward. Like what have you gotten to that point or?
It's so funny because like, right now I'm under my specific program with farmers. Like, there's the bonuses drop off, so you had to like sell more. And so like it's very easy, like whenever, let's say you have a kick-ass month and then they're limiting you, they're telling you, hey, you had to sell this month in a quarter. And so like if you already sold that much and you're that close to the quarter, like why would you try the next 2 months? You know what I mean? And so like that's where that comes in, where you're like you start letting off the pedal.
Yeah.
But then you have to constantly remind yourself, and this is why I like tell you, like, or well, everybody tells you, not me, that you have to be surrounded by like-minded people that are on the same mission as you. Because if you were not, then you fall into that system, and then you would just let off those 2 months, and then now it becomes a term of desperation. Now you really had to do whatever you can to try to, but it's just so stressful. Like you're just bringing extra stress to yourself. So if you had a good month, right, let's try to do a little bit better, or let's try to at least mimic it. You know what I mean? But don't just give in and just be like, oh, that was a good month. Okay, next month it's like a shit month. Like, I'm still okay. Like no, that shouldn't be that way. So yeah.
So the key to get to it and keep going and past that desperation is finding other entrepreneurs around you and other people who are on that same mission to inspire you to move forward. It's like the extra cream on top.
So, it's kind of weird because like entrepreneurship like is very lonely, right? Like there's not many entrepreneurs, to be perfectly honest, and there's like what we were saying, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Like there's a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs but are not. And so the thing is with entrepreneurs is that they're still living their 9-to-5 life, and the majority of your friends are going to be 9-to-5 as well. So yes, I want to say like you should be surrounded by entrepreneurs, but the idea of that is very difficult because there's just not many of us. So however, either way, like you should at least have mentors, hopefully. And if you don't know how to find a mentor, pretty much is you can do your method.
Yeah.
See, there you go. That would be great. So use a software like that. Yeah. Get in there. And then find out who the insurance agents are, find out the top ones, and then you don't have to like be their friend like that. I think that most people like mess that up, or they don't try to reach out because they think, oh, we had to be buddies. You don't have to be buddies. Like you can just go and just have some drinks with that person. Go take them out to dinner. Hey, I want to take you out to dinner. I want to pick your brain. Something like that. You know what I mean? Even doing something like this with a podcast, like I don't even know you, but now we know each other. You know what I'm saying? But this is like the way that you do it, and having a mentor, like they're gonna have higher goals than you are, and so if they have higher goals and they're like showing you like, hey, this is like a cheat code, you know what I mean, to excel you above others. Like if you can get that, I mean, you're gonna beat the games, right? Essentially, or you're on your path too. So like, yeah, I'm sure you play Pokemon, and you remember. That's right. Oh,
No. I played Pokemon Go.
Well, Pokemon Go doesn't. That doesn't work. But so back then, I guess back in the 2000s, early 2000s, they had like Pokemon, and it was like on Nintendo. I think it was a DS or some crap. And so there was like Pokemon, I guess, came out with this book. And it had like cheat codes in there, and so whenever you put those cheat codes in the game, it would literally beat the game, right? So when I'm thinking of like in terms of mentorship, I'm thinking of those are the cheat codes, and you need to get as many as possible because that's what's gonna grow you. You know what I mean? And even doing something like this, like like a podcast with you or like an interview, this is sort of in a way a cheat code because let's say we posted this. And then it got some views. Maybe a viewer on the other side is a mentor and could be like, oh, that guy is actually like a pretty good agent or somebody that I want to associate with. Maybe they'll reach out to me. Yeah. And so, this is how you expose yourself on social media and whatnot. I think that you need to do that in order to attain those higher goals. So, yeah, that's what I look at it.
I mean, you literally hit the nail on the head. I think it all stems from, because I was about to ask you like how to look for mentors in the entrepreneur space, but yeah, that's a perfect way to do it. I mean, I've always taken the approach of value first, and even here, like you said, somebody can see you